genre.
Hello and welcome back to the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Around, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I am Scott Corelli.
Nick Jimenez.
And Cass Fredrickson.
Today on the show, we are discussing the second half of The Colony in Space, specifically episodes 4 through 6, which also happens to be the third Doctor's 8th story. Previously on the Colony in Space, very little happened, and there was a cliffhanger where Joe saw something we weren't allowed to see because the set wasn't built yet. That's it.
And that's what you missed on.
And let's go ahead and talk about episode 4, I guess. Colony in Space, Part 4. Written by Malcolm Hulke, directed by Michael Bryant, produced by Barry Letts, script edited by Terrence Dix, air date 1st of May, 1971. The Doctor leaves the colony to go after Joe just as the adjudicator ship lands nearby. While David puts together evidence for their case, Ash attempts to explain the situation to the adjudicator by the radio, but his response is curt, telling Ash that he will only speak to the parties about the case simultaneously. David agrees to free the IMC workers for the trial. Eventually, the adjudicator arrives at the colony and is revealed to be the Master in disguise. Meanwhile, Joe is brought to the leader of the Primitives, who is small, white, and horrific looking. She screams at the sight of him. The Doctor sets up an exchange of food for Joe and is led to the leader. Upon being reunited, Joe says the Primitives are descendants of a highly advanced civilization, but some sort of catastrophe changed all of that. The Doctor explains their situation to the primitive leader, who senses that the Doctor is a being of superior intelligence and lets them go so long as they never return. Posing as the adjudicator, the Master has heard both sides of the story from representatives of the colony and IMC and weighs the facts. The Doctor and Joe enter and instantly recognize the Master as a fraud. The Master says he needs time to consider his decision and withdraws, followed by the Doctor and Joe. The Doctor asks why he is impersonating the adjudicator and threatens to expose him as an imposter, but the Master says his documents are forged so perfectly that nobody would ever believe him. The Master questions if the Doctor has any credentials. When the Doctor admits he doesn't, the Master says he could send him back to Earth as a prisoner unless he keeps quiet. The Master returns and sums up the case in favor of the IMC. While the colonists freak out about the adjudicator's ruling, Joe asks why the Doctor doesn't tell Ash that the Master is not the real adjudicator. The Doctor explains that he wants to figure out why the Master is here first. The IMC workers arrive at the colony to take over, but a firefight ensues between the workers and the colonists, resulting in several deaths. The Doctor attempts to stop the fight, but the Master pulls out a gun and tells the Doctor and Joe that they are about to fall victim to stray bullets from the gunfight. Episode 4 starts off with, obviously kind of the retread of the episode 3 cliffhanger, but we still don't get to see the city. It's not like they were like, oh, we should fulfill this cliffhanger. No, they just move on to another scene. Great. Which is great. The adjudicator finally arrives.
And what fashion do they arrive in, Scott?
A ship that is a little model, a little toy ship that sort of wobbles its way into the frame and then turns over and lands on its back.
Like the Slave One.
I have the note that says, ship like Boba Fett, moves like Jagger. So
it was delightful.
It was pretty great. It lands exactly like the Slave One. And inside, the adjudicator turns out to be none other than Roger Delgado, a.k.a. the Master. He's back, boys.
I love his stupid cloak
Yep.
thing with the shoulder pads and the stupid collar. It's so good.
It's incredible, honestly.
It's so good.
It's great. He a whole extra star gets added to this thing the minute he starts. He's just causing mischief.
Yeah.
He like runs into the doctor and he's like, "What are you doing here?"
Your TARDIS isn't even supposed to work. What are you doing here? I thought I was scot-free. What's going
Did
on?
the Time Lord send you?
Yeah. It's just like he's just like no big deal, but this is bullshit. Like it's pretty great. I also have a lot of questions about his ship, because the ship that he lands in, it turns out that it is his TARDIS, and his TARDIS has a working chameleon circuit. So he made it look like the adjudicator's ship, the ship that they would be expecting to see. The problem I have with this is I know that the chameleon circuit works so that when the TARDIS lands, it turns itself into whatever makes the most sense in the area, right? So that it blends in and no one bothers it.
Mhm.
But we literally see this ship enter the atmosphere, fly to a parking spot, turn in midair, and land in a very particular way that I don't quite understand how or why the TARDIS recreated all of those details, rather than just being a ship that's already landed. I don't know.
Well, I love that the doctor goes out of his way to say that it's like a newer model than his.
Yeah.
So like maybe they're just like, no, whatever.
Yeah. Joe gets shown around the city,
Yeah.
the native city, and she meets their king and immediately screams in their face
Directly into this thing's face.
Yeah.
And horror.
Yeah. The king, which looks like a paper mache mutant child.
That looks kind of like the Watcher
Mm-hmm.
from the Marvel comics.
But like tiny.
Yeah.
Was
great.
and made of paper mache.
Yeah.
It looks like a mutant baby.
Mm-hmm.
He was great. He almost kind of looked like a 90s X-Men character.
Yeah. We're playing this, or we're watching this on BritBox, and we're going through this, and Nick and I are watching this. We get through the third episode, and we're just like, and Nick is like, well, at least we're halfway through. And then we go onto episode 4, and the picture is this dude, and we're like, okay, here we
That's
go.
what we're talking about.
Yeah. It was just like an immediate, like, all right, now we're talking. Here we go.
So yeah, part 4 is definitely a step up for me with the introduction of the Master. Just it recontextualizes everything, because now it's like the Doctor and the Master feuding over these two like clubs of dummies.
Yeah. There's a really good moment where the Master, when the Doctor, because the Doctor doesn't like take the Master aside to be like, you're the Master. Like he just, as soon as he sees, he's like, oh, Doctor, I'd like you to meet the Adjudicator. And he's like, that's not the Adjudicator. That's my old nemesis, the Master. And the Master just looks at him, sort of blinks twice, and then is like, so anyway, adjudicating, it works like this, and just moves on, just completely doesn't even like clock what the Doctor's saying, or he just dismisses it entirely and moves on, and it's like the greatest thing. The Master is very upset about, like, man, I had a whole thing going, and this asshole's here again. Cass, this stairwell set that they're in, is this a repeat from the Mind of Evil? Is it the prison set with the staircase?
Maybe?
It feels like the same set to me. Like it feels like exactly the same set, just colored a little differently.
They like shot it from a different angle or something?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's the same like metal stairway that is like kind of the main set of the prison in Mind of Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was this season, right?
Yeah.
It's the same season?
Yeah, because it's the Master.
It very may well be.
Yeah, they just put it in stores like, we're going to just use this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there another gunfight in this episode?
Oh, boy, is there.
Yeah.
I think the first one, right?
Okay.
The first major gunfight, because what's his name gets shot at by like this the IMF, what do they call it? IMC.
The
Interplanetary Mining Company.
Yeah, the IMC. He gets shot at by the IMC. But I wouldn't call it a shootout.
Well, the IMC won't let me be.
Yeah. So there is a shootout, and it's really funny because it's just a series of close-ups of like one or two people shooting to make it so that it doesn't just look like the scene in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride where like the robots are just shooting at each other from across the boats. Like it's very close quarters, this shootout, but they're trying to make it look more epic than it actually is.
Like, yeah, and like I can appreciate being like, if I were like a 9 or 10-year-old boy in 1971 in the UK, I would be like, this is so cool. Gunfights,
yeah,
car chases, proper action.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not why I watch Doctor Who.
Right. At the time, though, they didn't know why anyone watched Doctor Who. I think.
Sure.
They were still trying to figure it out. Maybe it's this.
Yeah. Hats off. I'm always hats off to the show trying different stuff in different eras.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the Master showing up is a big energy boost. He takes the Doctor aside. Is like,
where are your
hey,
papers, homie?
Don't rat me out
because I can end you.
Yeah, don't rat me out. And then a little later, while the shootout's happening, the Doctor comes out and he's like, "Why are these people shooting at each other?" And he's like, "I don't know, but you and Joe are about to get hit by a stray bullet that's coming out of my gun." And then that's the cliffhanger. Yeah.
Every cliffhanger in this story is either a gun or a robot.
Yeah. Or something seen off screen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Pertwee era, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about episode 5. Colony in Space, Part 5. Written by Malcolm Hulk, directed by Michael Bryant, produced by Barry Letts, script edited by Terrence Dix. Air date 8th of May, 1971. Ash interrupts the Master and implores him as adjudicator to stop the fight. The IMC workers surrender and are taken prisoner. The Doctor tells Ash that the Master is not the real adjudicator, but cannot prove it, so he and Joe need to break into the Master's TARDIS to find evidence. Just to be on the safe side after the Doctor's accusation, Dent orders that the adjudicator's credentials be checked in secret. They receive a message back with a photo of the real adjudicator, proving that the Doctor was right about him. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Joe enter the Master's TARDIS, narrowly avoiding an alarm beam. The Master checks a device that shows the Doctor and Joe snooping around the TARDIS and presses a button that closes the door and releases a gas that causes the Doctor and Joe to both fall unconscious. The Master wants to see the primitive city, but is told that the Doctor is the first person to ever go there and actually return. Returning to the TARDIS, the Master uses Joe as a hostage in order to get the Doctor to agree to be his guide to the primitive city. As the Master leads the Doctor away, the Doctor drops the TARDIS key on the ground outside the entrance. The main dome of the colony is infiltrated by IMC guards and another firefight ensues. Eventually, Ash and David are taken prisoner and are told that they will be tried by the IMC for destroying IMC equipment, the murder of IMC personnel, trespassing on a planet allocated to the IMC, and for the armed rebellion against them. They will be sentenced to execution unless they and the other colonists leave the planet immediately. Caldwell tells Dent that the colonist ship is in bad shape and could explode on takeoff, but Dent is unmoved. Caldwell and Morgan try and find the adjudicator at his ship, but the doors are locked. They find the key that the Doctor dropped and let themselves in to find Joe trapped inside as they trigger an alarm. The Master and the Doctor approach the primitive city by car, but are attacked by primitives and their car is destroyed, forcing them to make their way to the city the rest of the way on foot. The Doctor leads the Master to the entrance of the primitive city, but doesn't know how to get in. The Master gets a notification about trespassers on his TARDIS, and goes to press a button that will kill both the trespassers and Joe. So immediately, the Master is interrupted.
It's amazing.
Yeah. There's immediately somebody's like,
adjudicator.
Hey, adjudicator. He's like, oh, what?
Hey,
and he puts the gun away. And the Doctor he always just like kind of rolls his eyes like, God, this idiot. Like he just can't do anything right.
He doesn't raise an alarm, or he's like, okay.
Yeah. He's just like, literally, you could have shot me and just been like, yeah, no, he was a traitor. Sorry, I'm the adjudicator. Like literally, you could have done that and you didn't.
He had no papers and couldn't identify himself.
Right. Oh God. Oh yeah. There's a lot of conversations about like how neither of them have papers.
Well, no, he does. The master went through the effort to like, he didn't even, because he has all the proper paperwork that says that he's an adjudicator.
Oh, right.
So that if the doctor calls him on his crap, he will be able to identify himself. And the master's like, if you do that, if you pull that card, I will then ask, where are your papers, doctor? And then you won't be able to have any, and then you'll be shut down and people will think you're crazy. And then the doctor does that.
Yeah.
And nobody believes him.
Yeah.
Master literally is like, I will gaslight you so fast.
Yeah. And then it just happens. And I'm like, what did you think was going to happen?
He literally told you every step of the process. So they're going to go check out the adjudicator. They're like, all right, the doctor says this guy isn't real or whatever. Or is it? No, it's the IMC people, right? Who are doing it.
Yeah. Cause they were like, oh, we want to make sure that this guy is legit. Who you say. Yeah.
Yeah. So they go to his ship and then they're like, I don't know how to get into this thing. And then they find like the master's TARDIS key on the ground. Just like, I don't know how it got there.
I've done it before.
Oh, the doctor dropped it.
Oh, the doctor dropped it.
Yeah, because when did they break into the master's TARDIS? Was that last episode?
Oh yeah, because Joe's like, how are we gonna get in? And doctor's like, I have a key because that's just kind of how we are.
Oh right, we haven't gotten to that part yet. The part I was talking about.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, so
they have to break into his TARDIS first.
They have to, using the master TARDIS key that the doctor borrowed and never returned.
Keeps on a string around his neck or whatever. Right. Very romantic.
Right next to a picture of the master.
Right.
In a heart necklace.
You know how it is. You're not together at the time, but you still have keys to their place.
Yeah, just in case. You never know. You're still their emergency contact. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Master.
There's this really funny scene where when the doctor and Joe first break in to the TARDIS, the doctor notices that there's like a laser tripwire in the door, and he's like, "We have to crawl under this door, under the tripwire.
We have to be really flat on the ground,
about a foot." Yeah, no further than about a foot. And so Joe does a really good job. Like she gets on her back all the way down,
and wiggles
it's
through.
Great, like children's show level commitment.
Yeah. Like she really brings it. And then John Pertwee is like, I mean, look, I'll get on my shoulder. And they're like, that's more than a foot. And he's like, I don't care. I'm not getting on
Joe,
my back.
Do it even flatter, Joe. Now, come on now.
Like I'm pretty sure we see his shoulder cross the place where the laser beam is supposed to be, because he refuses to get completely flat on the ground. So it's really funny. But my favorite detail about the Master's TARDIS: filing cabinets.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
the TARDIS data or the Time Lord records that he's talking about. That's where they all are.
Yeah, they're just in filing cabinets, like it's just like funny. Basic metal office filing cabinets in the TARDIS.
I hope that on Monday morning on Gallifrey, the Time Lords are like going to work and they just like flick on a light and just a huge chunk of their filing cabinets is missing. Like, master.
Or the filing cabinets are there, but they won't open, and then they realize that the filing cabinets are actually a TARDIS.
No!
that the master left.
He did it again!
God!
Grace!
Grace! Oh, man. Yeah.
That Joe. The doctor's looking through papers and stuff because he's trying to figure out like, well, why is the master on this planet? And then Joe forgets about the trip laser wire and just like walks right through it.
Yeah,
and like poison gas starts coming out. Oh well, it trips an alarm on the master's beeper.
Right, and then he sends the gas out. And the alarm is like rainbow colored, which is pretty rad. You don't see that very often. Where like the blinking flashing lights aren't just like red. They're like rainbow colored. It's cool.
It lit up his whole TARDIS in a really cool way.
Yeah, it did. It really, I mean, you know,
it's like those ads you see on like TikToks or like those things you put on your wall to light up.
I don't want to say that the Master's rainbow alarm are raising red flags, but you know, between that and the locket on Pertwee's chest, I feel like there might be something going on.
Maybe.
It's possible.
What did the kids say? There's no hetero explanation for this?
Right.
Yeah.
We get a fun Dr. Master road trip in this episode with them in the little like.
Oh, that was great. With the wide shot of them both in the buggy together.
Yeah. Yeah, in the buggy.
Just driving through a quarry.
Mm-hmm. The natives go like full on like Tusken Raider in this episode.
Yes.
Where they're like up on hills, like with their staffs, like like holding their staffs up the air. And I'm like, oh,
71.
71. Doctor Who did it first.
They flipped the dune buggy, right? Or it gets off road somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the big rock. They like push the big rock down the mountain because I really wanted the two of them to high five after they pushed the rock down the mountain.
There's another cool moment where the master is like menacing the doctor with the thing. I forgot what the device was. And the doctor's like, look up there. And the master's like, don't, I'm not going to fall for that old trick. And then like, I can't remember how it was. Who shot the alien or like what happened? The alien died or didn't.
The master like shoots him because he like turns around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, just fun shenanigans.
Yeah. Let's see. So meanwhile, outside of the Dr. Master stuff, the IMC, they like held like a little trial.
Yeah, the adjudicator held like a trial.
Right. The master did this or
yeah, and this is the one where he decided like ownership of the planet fell to the mining company and not the colonists. Is that what happened?
So yeah. So the mining, I thought the master wasn't involved in that decision. I thought the IMC just decided that themselves.
No, he's involved, and then they're like, oh, he's a fake. So then like they're gonna take over, and then they like storm the base or whatever.
Right,
and they're like, you're traitors or whatever.
Yeah, you're gonna be sent away. Get in your ship and get out of here.
Oh yeah, they make and they're like, it's not gonna work. It's old. They keep saying like, we bought it used.
Yeah, it has so many miles on it.
So they like know that it's going to blow up as soon as it launches, but they're just like, we don't care. We're a big corporation.
Yeah, because they're like, okay, so we have two options. Either the two of you are going to be seen as traitors and put to death, or the whole lot of you are going to get on your ship and F off back to Legoland. Mm-hmm. And they're like, but if you do that, everyone will die. And he's like, exactly. So anyway, that's the one you're doing.
But it'll be off planet, so it won't be my responsibility.
Right. So this whole episode is them being like, hey, get prepared for launch. And they're like, this thing is going to blow up. And they're like, okay. Like at one point, the dude who's like BFFs with the colonist guy is like, hey, I was checking out the ship specs and it's not looking good. Looks like it might blow up. And he's like, oh, really? It might blow up. Well, then we should probably make sure that we clear our men when it takes off.
Yeah,
and I was like, whoa, ice cold.
Yeah.
Savage. Oh, man. And then just walks away. And it's like, oh, boy, yikes.
It just hit me that if Pex had a really like a brainiac younger brother, his name would be Specs.
Specs.
Anyway.
That's good. I like that. Pex and Specs. Where's that Big Finish audio? So then this is when the IMC dudes try to break into the Master's TARDIS, not knowing that it's a TARDIS. Yeah. They get in there. They see that Joe is like trapped inside a tube, and they try to let her out, but they set off the alarm, and the Master's like, someone's trying to break into my TARDIS, and then goes to push the button to set the gas out and kill them all. And the Doctor's like, no.
That's the cliffhanger, right?
That's the cliffhanger of episode 5. Yeah.
It's not a gun.
It's not a gun.
It's a button.
It's
a big red button, right?
Yeah. On his pager or whatever.
Right. Colony in Space, Part 6. Written by Malcolm Hulk, directed by Michael Bryant, produced by Barry Letts, script edited by Terrence Dix, air date 15th of May, 1971. The Doctor disarms the Master, but their altercation is broken up by primitives who lead them into the city and leave them in a room. The Master explains that this planet used to be the center of a great civilization that developed a doomsday weapon, so he wants to take control of this weapon and use it to hold the galaxy ransom. As soon as the primitives re-enter the room, the Master deploys a gas canister and he and the Doctor escape. Morgan and Caldwell manage to free Joe, who tells them of the Master's plans. But Dent orders Joe to join the other colonists on their faulty ship headed back to Earth. Ash tells Dent that they are ready to go, but tries one last time to convince Dent to no avail. Caldwell helps Joe escape, and they go after the Doctor, only to watch as the colonist ship takes off and explodes. Meanwhile, the Master and the Doctor have arrived at the heart of the Doomsday weapon, which the Master says has the capacity to blow up a sun. He suggests the Doctor could join his plot and help him rule over the universe with a reign that would end war, suffering, and disease, but the Doctor turns down the offer, believing absolute power to be evil no matter the context. The leader of the Primitives emerges from a wall and demands to know why the Doctor has returned. The Master and the Doctor attempt to convince the leader of their side of things, and the leader eventually decides that the Doomsday weapon should be destroyed, asking the Doctor to activate a self-destruction mechanism before leaving at once, or he will be destroyed with the city. The Doctor finds Joe and Caldwell, and they all leave as the city explodes. Soon, all four of them are surrounded by IMC workers. Morgan orders Caldwell away from the other three and goes to kill them, but Caldwell tells him to stop. The momentary distraction allows a group of colonists to surprise the IMC workers because they are not dead and they did not blow up in their ship. Yet another firefight ensues. The Master steals a buggy and flees. Joe and the Doctor take another buggy to pursue him, but they're too late, arriving just in time to see the Master's TARDIS dematerialize. Later, the colonists return the Doctor's TARDIS, having found it in one of the Primitives' dwellings. Caldwell is now working with the colonists and tells them that a real adjudicator is on his way. As they talk, the TARDIS dematerializes behind them, where it returns to unit base the exact moment it left. The Brigadier sarcastically congratulates the Doctor on his short trip, and while Joe tries to explain, the Doctor says there's no point because the Brigadier would never understand. At one point in this, the Master quotes the Time Lords in a really great way, where he says, or he doesn't quote the Time Lords. I'm quoting the Master talking about the Time Lords. He says that the Time Lords are great because they know everything, but they do nothing, which is pretty good. I like that line.
Yeah, that whole scene was really good, where like they're kind of throwing each other's worldviews at each other.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked how well it held up as like a New Who viewer, you know?
Yeah, really good. The colony ship takes off, immediately explodes, and one dude is like, and like, it's like the dude who's like best friends with the colonist, the IMC guy, and he's horrified. Like, oh God, what have we done? And then there's like another IMC guy that just goes, so it did blow up. Oh, and then like kind of just like, all right, whatever. and then the IMC guy's like, dear God, what have I done? Those people.
Just like, yeah,
they're all dead.
Live with it.
Deal with it.
The Doctor and the Master go back to the underground alien world, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. They team up with the king, dude.
Yeah, they appealed to the leader's better nature.
Right.
And they're like, hey, here's the situation. And
right.
He's like, you know what? I'm gonna step on this. He's like, he
because
sacrifices.
There's like the planet is like a Death Star or whatever. Like there's a big weapon, and so the Master's like, I want the weapon, right?
Yeah. At the height of this civilization's power and ego, they made this death weapon. And as soon as they made the death weapon, it was like the nadir of their culture. And that was when they started breaking down into like the creatures that they are now, something to do with radiation. But the Master's like, this thing worked. It like took out a whole system like 1,000 years ago. So I'm like looking for it.
Man, they really like Star Wars just like full blown, like ripped this episode off, huh?
Right.
Jeez. Once again, George Lucas stole all of his ideas from another thing. He saw this episode of he saw this story, this Doctor Who story, and then went to the theaters and watched that Kurosawa movie.
Or is Doctor Who ripping off Buck Rogers?
Oh, I don't know. Did Buck Rogers have a planet or a system destroying weapon?
It's weird that like Buck Rogers is kind of lost, or Flash Gordon. You know what I mean? Like those original broadcasts.
Yeah, Flash Gordon I think is more available than Buck Rogers. Mm-hmm. I think in general. Buck Rogers you don't see a lot of. I don't even know what the plot of Buck Rogers is. Is he a space cop?
I have no idea.
Because I know Flash Gordon is like a time travel fantasy thing.
Oh, he's not a quarterback in the old serials, or is he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a time travel. So like he like goes to like, you know, I think it's like a different time period.
Oh, okay.
That he goes to. A different time period and a different place in space, but
so he goes a long time ago,
right?
In a galaxy far, far
right.
away.
It'd be like if Michael Jordan was in a Star Wars as Michael Jordan. Like Space Jam style.
Whoa.
Buck Rogers apparently didn't air until 1979.
Wow. But the comics happened before that, I think. The comics they were based on.
Probably.
79. So it was Flash Gordon then.
That would be an interesting if like Doctor Who met Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah, that's true. They don't do a lot of Doctor Who meets. Just that EastEnders episode.
Robin Hood.
Yeah. They should do like a Doctor Who Scooby-Doo episode.
Oh my god.
The Mystery Machine Gang, Mystery Incorporated meet Doctor Who.
I think Capaldi would have been the best doctor for that though, because his face, like I can picture his face as a cartoon.
Yeah, that's true. It would look like every villain on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
They just keep trying to pull his face off because they think it was a mask.
Supernatural met Doctor Who, right?
Yep. No, Supernatural meant Scooby-Doo.
That's what I meant. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, they didn't meet Doctor Who.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. No, I think the whole internet would have imploded if Supernatural had ever met Doctor Who.
What was the thing? Super Hulock or whatever?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
Super Hulock by Stephen Moffat.
Super Hulock confirmed.
Like instead of the war doctor stumbling out of that ashy landscape, it's just the Winchesters.
Yeah.
In the name of the doctor. What?
Huh?
And introducing the Winchesters.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
So like the whole civilization sacrifices itself to save
the colony.
The colony, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a really unsatisfying ending because like Captain Dent, nothing really happens to him. The miners just kind of leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the doctor goes home and
the ship blowing up was a fake out.
Yeah.
The colonists were fine.
And the pilot of the ship like actually died because like someone had to fly the ship, but it had to blow up. But
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The girl from EastEnders is okay.
Coronation Street.
and then they were
if I learned nothing else while recording this.
Oh, so listeners, if we can jump all the way back to episode 1, when the TARDIS left, the Brigadier's like, Doctor, get back here this minute. And then at the end of this episode, at 6, they just like pop back in right after he says that. So it's from Brigadier's perspective, he like listened to him.
That's the other thing that's really weird about the TARDIS in this is that it pops in and out. It doesn't fade the way that it normally does.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
I think that's just because they haven't figured out how to do the thing yet.
Is that right?
The effect, because it happens quite a few times in Pertwee's era where it's like the sound will happen and then it's just like poof, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they never do it in Troughton and Hartnell's era?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, that kind of just ends with them like, oh, we can never tell Brigadier what happened.
He's a fool.
He's an idiot, Joe.
Yeah, it's just like there. A lot of Third Doctor era stories end with the Doctor being extremely condescending toward the Brigadier.
Right.
A lot of stories. Brigadier loves to just like hate on the Brigadier.
It's so funny.
So yeah, some fun moments, mostly from Roger Delgado.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, kind of a chore to get through, to be honest.
Especially like a chore to get to the good stuff. Because I think the last 3 episodes are solid. Like solid. I wouldn't say they're great.
Really good fun.
But like I think there's a lot of fun moments. I think you know, I wouldn't even necessarily say it was worth getting to those episodes, but they were good. Like if the whole story had been like these last 3 episodes, I think I would feel stronger about the episode as a whole. I would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like solid, you know, nothing crazy great or anything, but like solid. But man, those first 3 episodes are yawn fest.
Well, the title is The Colony in Space.
It doesn't even have it's just Colony in Space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
You can't say they didn't deliver.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. I don't know. Not my favorite thing. This is not a Third Doctor story I would recommend.
Yeah, I didn't remember most of it. I know I've seen it. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty boring.
The Master's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Master's really cool.
Next week, though.
What's it called?
Pyramids of Mars.
Pyramids of Mars. Nice.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Can't wait. I'm really excited to watch that one. Pyramids of Mars coming next time. What's that, Nick?
I remember there was that episode, Empress of Mars, that 12 had, and you guys were excited because you were like, oh, is it connected to Pyramids of Mars? I remember.
No, it was, I was really excited because it was Ice Warriors, and then it was like Mark Gatiss being Mark Gatiss. So it was just very mediocre.
Yeah. Good old mediocre Mark Gatiss. So yeah, Pyramids of Mars next time. Check out our TeePublic store if you're interested in some merch, some stuff. duelinggenre.com/merch. Let me know if you are interested in those Doctor Who credit shirts, because I will design them. It's not an empty threat. I will do it. It is a loaded gun threat. I will do it.
It's a master threat.
It's a master threat. I will do it. So, you know, let me know. Let me know if it's something that you'd be interested in, and I will make those shirts.
Yeah, the ones that you've made already all came out really well.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how they turned out. So check those out. duelinggenre.com/merch. Credits shirts. Pretty fun. And also, you may have noticed that we have a new Doctor's Companion logo. I want to thank Jason Hammonds for designing that.
Yeah.
And we'll be getting that on a shirt momentarily if it's not already on a shirt. We are pre-recording this, so it's possible that it's already on a shirt. And maybe you already bought one. I don't know. But if we did put it on a shirt, it would be at duelinggenre.com/merch. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. And we will talk to you next week with Pyramids of Mars. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.